With the way things are going in 2025, AI stealing jobs, cost of living climbing faster than self-driving cars, and families breaking under the weight of inflation, it's starting to feel like our world is catching up to Cyberpunk 2077. Gen Z and Gen Alpha aren't growing up in a world their parents imagined. They're growing up in a dystopia of postmodern capitalism. Imagine a world where society didn't have enough kids to replace the workforce, and the world is teetering on the edge of real-life dystopia. With birth rates hitting record lows, many experts are brainstorming where the future may hold. So what would life really be like for a kid born into that kind of chaos? No playgrounds, just alleys, no bedtime stories, just gunfire and brain dances. Today we're deep diving into Cyberpunk Edgerunners to uncover the childhoods of David Martinez, Katsu Tanaka, Lucy Kushinada, and Rebecca. The street kids of Night City. Kids who had to grow up too fast, fight for every breath, and somehow still find a way to dream. Fewer kids means slower population growth, a shrinking workforce, and an aging society. In other words, fewer young people to support the economy. Combine that with the rising inequality, environmental crisis, and powerful corporations controlling our lives, and suddenly a dystopian cyberpunk-style world doesn't seem too far-fetched. Dave Martinez had a life that seemed like a fleeting glimpse of normalcy. Enrolling in the prestigious Arasaka Academy, he carried a bright-eyed curiosity of a child with dreams. David's childhood is marked by hardship. He is raised by his single mom, Gloria, who works herself to the bone, trying to give him a better life through the Arasaka Academy. But Night City's world is merciless. His mother's death in a gang crossfire shattered any sense of safety he might have had. When she dies, David becomes an orphan child. He was lost, felt abandoned, and the struggles to find meaning without guidance. In that moment, he inherited not just grief, but the brutal lessons of survival in a city designed for profit over people. He rejects the system that failed him. He had no money for rent or basic needs. So shortly after he found a military-grade cyberware, he chipped the chrome and decided that if the world wouldn't make room for him, he'll make a way in this city. But even with all the rage and ambition, what drives him isn't greed or ego, it's love. The child inside him still wants to make his mother proud. That's the paradox of Night City's kids. Even after being broken, they still dream of something pure. Imagine being a child in a world your home isn't a sanctuary, it's a cramped apartment, a makeshift shelter, or worse, a building teetering on the edge of collapse. Limited access to quality housing isn't just uncomfortable. Children need stability, structure, and safety to grow and develop cognitively. Constant exposure to chaos rewires their developing brains, anxiety becomes baseline, and focus becomes a rare luxury. In David's case, the apartment he shared with his mother was barely above the minimum legal standards. Leaky pipes, malfunctioning heat, flickering neon through thin windows. Nights were cold, days were stressful, and the very walls whispered the harsh truth of a society where children's welfare is optional. Food in Night City is another battlefield. Cheap, synthetic, and nutritionally hollow. It fills bellies but starves minds. Without access to nutritious food, children like David face long-term consequences, slowed cognitive development, weakened immune systems, and reduced energy to engage with the world. Imagine trying to learn, to explore, to create when your body constantly signals deficiency. Water is no better. Contaminated drinking supplies add another layer to the invisible dangers. Heavy metal, chemical runoff, and unmonitored filtration systems means a sip from the tap can stunt growth and impair neurological function. In a city obsessed with profit, even something as basic as clean drinking water becomes a privilege. For a child, each gulp carries risk of developing developing body cannot compensate for. David's early days were marked by scavenging and careful rationing. Meals were often whatever could be bought cheaply or grabbed from the shadow of a back alley market or vending machine. It's in these small, overlooked actions of survival that Night City began to shape not just street kids, but their very sense of life is or can be. However, what if you were born as a kid in a corporal family, living in a penthouse view of Night City designer, cyberware, private tutors, and every upgrade a kid could dream of? But in a world of cyberpunk, being born into a corporal family isn't a blessing, it's a cage. In the story of Katsu Tanaka, the privileges Asaka student whose life of pressure and power would set off a chain of events that changed David Martinez forever. Katsu was born with every advantage money could buy. His father was a powerful Arasaka executive, one of those people who live in the glass towers so high they forgot what the ground even looked like. From the moment he could walk, Katsu's life was mapped out: elite education, corporate loyalty, and expectation of holding the family name. He was enrolled in Arasaka Academy, a school where the uniform cost more than most people's rent, and your GPA could determine your family's next promotion. Katsu wasn't just a student, he was heir to the Arasaka's future, but that title came with strings attached. No warmth, no affection, just pressure to perform, and perfection was never enough. Being a kid in that environment, every test, every report, every social interaction had to reflect corporate strength. Mistakes wasn't lessons, they were liabilities. Katsu learned early on that love in a corporal home wasn't given, it was earned through success, obedience, and cold results. So when someone like David Martinez, a working class student scraping by on scholarships, entered his world, Katsu didn't see a classmate. He saw a threat to the system that gave him identity. David represented everything Katsu wasn't allowed to be: free, emotional, human. One day, a malfunction in David's cheap brain dance caused chaos in the classroom. The glitch embarrassed Katsu and the rest of the elite students, and that tiny spark lit a wildfire of cruelty. Katsu, already conditioned to see weakness as failure, lashed out. With his friend, he cornered David in a back alley, taunted him, belittled him, and even brought up his mother. And one person David had left in the world, to Katsu, it was just another show of dominance, a way to prove he was better in the corporal hierarchy. But he had no idea he was pushing David towards a life-changing decision. That night, grief and rage drove David to installing his mother's black market Sandevistan implant, the same cyberware that would transform him from a bullied student into a Night City's deadliest edgerunner. The next morning, David walked into Arasaka Academy a completely different person. In the blink of an eye, literally, he took down Katsu with the precision of a seasoned merc. It wasn't just revenge, it was the first time David took control of his own destiny. For Katsu, it was humiliating fall from grace. His father, furious and calculating, saw the potential in David's cyberware capability. He wanted to bring David back into the fold, turn him into a corporate asset, but David wasn't buying it. He wanted freedom, not change. Katsu, meanwhile, became a warning sign within Arasaka, a reminder that what happens when weakness meets defiance. Born into privilege, Katsu's childhood looks perfect on paper. Corporal family, wealth, access, and prestige. But inside, he's hollow. He's a kid raised for performance, not love. His life is dictated by expectations, not dreams. Someone who never gets to develop their authentic self because they're molded to fit the system's image of success. That's why he bullies David, not out of real power, but out of insecurity. Katsu reminds us that even even the privileged can be emotionally orphaned. He's proof that money can buy implants and education, but not identity. After the fight, Katsu ended up hospitalized, bruised in body and ego. His father barely visited him, more focused on business deals than his injured son. And Katsu, he fades into the background, just another child of the corporals, raised with money but starved for love. He's the kind of kid Night City creates by the thousands, pampered, pressured, and broken before they even know who they are. Even children of the elite are victims of a system that values power over humanity. Illness and injuries are constant in a city like Night City, but access to healthcare is a luxury for the wealthy, not for. If you can't afford a trauma team membership, then you're out of luck. For David, a minor injury could become a life-threatening infection unless you get help from a Ripper doc, since trauma team is not in its price range. And mental health in a city built on stress, trauma, and omnipresent threat of violence, mental health support is practically non-existent. Cognitive development is especially vulnerable here. Without early interventions for stress, trauma, and illness, children, executive function, decision-making, emotional regulation, and memory can be permanently affected. Night City doesn't just fail to nurture its children, it actively undermines the very architecture of their minds. And then there's the streets. No safe playground, no parks, just crowded avenues, neon-lit boulevards, and a constant war of vehicles. For a child, these streets are both home and hazard. Every crossing could be the last. Every dark alley, a threat. Situational awareness and risk assessment are a lifeline, because under these conditions is a high stakes risk of running into a dangerous gang like scavengers or maelstrom. David's childhood was shaped by constant vigilance. To avoid cars, gang fights, and other dangers, he learned early to anticipate threats, to calculate distance, speed, and timing, not for play, but for survival. It's a skill set, yes, but a brutal one, forged in necessity rather than creativity. Cognitive flexibility suffers. Play, imagination, social development, all critical for young children's development. Because rare luxuries in Night City, the best kids get for education and entertainment are brain dances, which seems to have replaced normal classroom education. David's mother earned enough eddies to get David into a corporal school. However, she had to keep paying for brain dead software updates for David's class. Exposure to crime and violence isn't just a statistic in Night City. It's a lived experience. For children, repeated exposure rewires the brain's stress response. Fight or flight becomes permanent. Emotional regulation falters. Trust becomes scarce. David saw friends and neighbors vanish. One such victim of corporal experiments was Lucy. Lucy was born in Warsaw, Poland, to a Japanese veteran of the Fourth Corporate War, and Shimmer, a Polish netrunner from the 404 Squadron gang. Growing up, Lucy lived in luxury inside a gate Arasaka villa. She had access to the best education, the safest streets, and everything that a child could dream of. But as always in Night City, appearances can be deceiving. When Lucy was 7, she hacked into her father's computer and discovered a shocking truth about his past actions during the war. Everything she thought she knew about him was turned upside down, and the revelation ignited a rebellion. She frequently spent more time exploring the net, where she began to develop a natural talent for netrunning. Lucy's abilities didn't go unnoticed. After her father forced her to take a skills test at Arasaka, she was selected along with 12 other children for an intense nets running program at a secret Arasaka facility. The training was brutal. They were promised a dream serving the world's most powerful megacorp, but the reality was far darker. The children dove into a pre-data crash net, exploring lost knowledge while facing old world demons and rogue AIs. One by one, many of her fellow trainees didn't survive. Lucy, however, managed to outsmart the system. She used her skills to escape, even as most of the other children were shot down. Alone but alive, she woke in a junkyard determined to never be controlled again. In Night City, survival wasn't glamorous. Lucy did petty theft and occasional high-risk jobs, honing her skills while staying under the radar. And it was during this time she met Kiwi, a fellow netrunner who became her mentor and introduced her to Maine's crew of Edgerunners. Lucy's life took another turn one day while attempting to steal valuable shards from a teenager named David Martinez. But David, equipped with the Devasting implant, intercepted her. Instead of a fight, this meeting sparked a partnership. Lucy saw potential in him and decided to mentor David, testing his skills with daring heists on a N-cart train. Lucy trained David rigorously. Nighttime jogs, small thefts, and stealth missions became their routine. She challenged him to think fast, act decisively, and survive the city's constant threats. Together, they navigated dangerous encounters, including car chases and run-ins with Tiger Claw bounty hunters. Even in chaos, Lucy's priorities remained clear. David's survival came first. She would intervene when needed, hacking away threats or managing dangerous situations, all while teaching him the skills to become a full-fledged Edgerunners. As David transitioned out of adolescence, Lucy taught him skills no classroom could offer: stealth, negotiation, quick reflexes, and adaptability. But they also taught fear, desanitation, and ultimately the cost of a life where childhood innocence is a dangerous liability. She's a symbol of potential and transcendence. She escapes from a brutal upbringing, literally used by Arasaka as a human experiment, yet somehow she still finds wonder in the stars. Lucy dreams of leaving Earth behind and going to the moon. That dream represents transcendence, the child's vision to become whole despite trauma. Lucy hopes isn't naive, it's defiance. In a world that crushes innocence, she holds onto hers like a weapon. She teaches David and us that even in dystopia, hope is rebellion. Children thrive on social connection, belonging, and mentorship. In Night City, those connections are fragmented. Community is replaced with transactions, loyalty is purchased, and friendships are fragile at best. David found a surrogate family in Maine and the Edgerunner crew, but even these bonds are tested by greed, danger, and the city's relentless pressure. Without a stable community, children lost critical opportunities for learning, cooperation, empathy, and shared problem-solving skills. They grow fast, yes, but at the cost of emotional resilience and social security. Night City forces them to become small adults before their minds are ready. David's story escalates when he discovers Devastating cyberware, a military-grade implant meant to enhance physical abilities. In a world of inequality and danger, it represents power but also risk. Cybernetics enhancements pushes him beyond natural limits, offers speed and strength by slowly eroding his sense of self, blurring the line between human and machine. For children exposed to high-stakes environments, escapism through technology or self-modification can mirror the coping strategies of adults, but with far greater developmental consequences. Mental and physical health collide, leaving an mark on the body and brain. As David and his crew are pulled into corporate warfare, the cost of survival becomes tragically clear. David sacrifices himself using his body and cybernetics to protect those he loves, giving Lucy the chance to escape and dream beyond Night City. And yet the story is not just about him, it's about every child in the city who faces the same invisible battles: unsafe homes, contaminated food and water, absent healthcare, dangerous streets, exposure to violence, and fractured communities. Night City shapes them not just into survivors but into beings carrying carrying the weight of the city and never cares for the innocent. Rebecca's chaotic childhood and how she became one of the deadliest, most loyal members of David's crew. Rebecca was born in Night City, the daughter of a notorious mercenary known as Papa Sunrise, and the younger sister of Pillar. Her mother vanished when Rebecca was just 6, never to be seen again. Her father was strict, harsh, and unforgiving, constantly admonishing her for being emotional and compassionate, traits he believed would get her killed in a city like theirs. But the real shock came when her father disappeared too. Suddenly, it was just Rebecca and Pillar, left to survive in the ruthless streets of Night City. They lost their apartment, their family savings vanished, and the siblings were forced to live out of Papa Sunrise's broken down car. It was a childhood defined by chaos and survival, but Pillar vowed to get them off the streets, no matter the cost. To make ends meet, Pillar sought help from his father's old contacts. Auntie Wakaku, a powerful fixer, gave Pillar gigs and brought Rebecca along. But Rebecca's compassionate and zaniness often got in the way. She would delay missions to protect innocents, cuddle abandoned puppies, or spare targets she deemed as sad. Her heart was always in the right place, but in a world of ruthless mercs, it caused tension between her and Pillar and jeopardized their early jobs. Rebecca questioned her path as a merc, unsure if she could balance survival with her innate kindness. It was a rough start, but it taught her resilience, quick thinking, and the values of fighting for what you believe in, even when it's dangerous. Everything changed when Pillar introduced Rebecca to Maine and his Edgerunner crew. From then, Rebecca's life was a whirlwind of high-stake gigs, camaraderie, and chaos. Working with Maine's team allowed her to hone her skills, proving that even a compassionate, chaotic merc could be deadly in combat. She became known as the spunky, trigger-happy solo who always fought at her brother's side, though constant sibling squabbles made the crew dynamic and interesting. Rebecca's first meets David during a limo heist. Rebecca was immediately drawn to David. She flirted with him at the after party, and soon David began working his way up in Maine's crew. He delivered cyber arms to the apartment Rebecca shared with Pillar, where she helped him practice firearms, impressing him with precise dual-wielding shooting. It was clear Rebecca wasn't just a mentor. She was someone David could rely on, and someone who would fiercely protect those she cared about. Rebecca's compassion never left her. When David started showing signs of cyberpsychosis, she mentored him closely, manually injecting his meds and trying to keep him grounded. She became a secondary muscle of the crew, always ready to jump in, save him, and take down threats. Her loyalty, skills, and instincts made her one of the most reliable members of Maine's crew, especially after the death of Maine and DeRio. Even as Pillar's style of long cyber hands and lethal precision, her actions were motivated by love and respect both for her late brother and for David. Rebecca didn't just fight for survival, she fought for the people she cared about. When Pillar was killed by a cyber psycho, she almost charged into death herself in a blind rage before Maine saved her. Later during the mission with David and Falco, she helped rescue Lucy from Arasaka Tower, showing an unwavering courage even against impossible odds. She was the heart, the trigger, and the consequences of the crew, balancing lethal efficiency with fierce loyalty. And through it all, her fierce personality, chaotic compassion made her unforgettable, not just to her crew, but to David as well. Funny, fearless, and unpredictable, but underneath the neon armor, she was a rebel. She embodies creativity, passion, defiance, but she's also impulsive, wounded, and craving connection. Raised in violence, she turned madness into a survival tool. Rebecca refused to let the city define her. Every outrageous act, every wild outburst, that's her way of saying, "You won't cage my spirit." She may be small, small, but her energy burns brighter than any neon sign in Night City. In this city, you either burn bright or fade away. At least that's what Dexter Deshawn would have you believe, that your only choices are to live quiet and forgettable, or to go out in a blaze of glory like Johnny Silverhand and David Martinez. But what if that's not true? What if even in a broken streets of Night City, there's another path, one where you don't need to die to be a legend? Night City sells this dream, fame, power, and going out in a storm of bullets, but it's a lie, a myth built by corporals and fixers to keep people chasing after an early grave. Dexter Deshawn's philosophy, burn fast or die famous, sounds cool, but it's a trap, because in a world where everyone wants to be remembered, no one actually gets to live. Legends like Johnny Silverhand, they're remembered, sure, but look at what it cost them. A happy, fulfilling life, peace, connection with his tombs, all traded for the name of a drink in the afterlife. True strength in a dystopian world isn't about dying for attention. It's about surviving in spite of the system that wants to crush you. Being a legend isn't about blaze of glory. It's about how you stand on business. Maybe it's helping a tomb when no one else will. Maybe it's choosing cunning when everyone else chooses chaos. In a place like Night City, where humanity is disposable, empathy is rebellion, staying human, staying sane, that's legendary. There is a third option Dexter never mentioned, one where you carve your own faith. You live long enough to grow old, to heal, to build something that lasts, like Rogue, Queen of the Afterlife. You become a quiet force that changes the city from within, not through fire and destruction, but through perseverance. A legend doesn't have to explode. Sometimes a legend endures, and in a world obsessed with chaos, peace becomes the most radical act of all. So when the city whispers that you're just nobody, remember this: in the end, Night City may break your body, but it can't break your spirit unless you let it. Even in the darkest dystopias, you can grow, evolve, and rise above the system that made you, because that within every shadow lies potential. Through will, purpose, and self-mastery, you can rise. You don't need to burn to shine. You just need the courage to keep your light alive. In the glow of neon amidst the sirens and shadows, a question remains: what becomes of the children who grew up in Night City? The answer is both heartbreaking and hopeful. Heartbreaking because the city demands so much too soon. Hopeful because even in this crucible, humanity finds a way to endure. Resilience emerges, dreams persist, and for those like Rebecca, Lucy, David, and countless others, the possibilities of escape, of growth, of life beyond survival remains the brightest light in Night City's darkness. Rebecca, David, and Lucy's story is more than just a mercenary exploits. It's a tale of survival, love, and loyalty in a city that tries to break everyone from chaotic, passionate children on the streets to a lethal, skilled merc of the Edgerunners crew. They embody resilience in the face of relentless danger. David Martinez, Rebecca, and Lucy's story is about reclaiming control over one's life, choosing who to trust, and finding purpose in the chaos of the city that tries to crush it out of you. And that, in the end, is why their story resonates and reminds us that even in the darkest dystopia, connection, courage, and heart can still shine through. That was the spark that turned chaos into partnership and survival into something worth fighting for. If you enjoyed exploring what it means to grow up in a dystopian world, then you'll definitely want to check out our next video.